Now this I found in Benjamin Moore's archives, which is pretty cool working for a company that's 130 years old, because sometimes I look at other industries and it's fantastic, and then when I was working on this presentation, I went back into our own archives and spent hours and hours going through and thinking, wow, it's amazing how similar so much of what we've already done, how we've kind of come back there. And I hadn't really seen it so obviously, but this is a designer fan deck from the 60s, and look at those colors. Very soft, very pretty, very familiar, and you can't really read it on there, so I kind of called it out. In this book, you'll find the delicate pastels and soft hues so popular today, plus a number of accent colors to dramatize your rooms. Haven't we all said that, maybe in different words, but it's really fascinating to me how that feels so current. Except I love the mom kind of standing there supervising dad, telling him how to open up the paint can. He's using a screwdriver, which you really shouldn't do. But I love that. It's not quite the same in my house. It's the other way around, but it's cute. And again, I've got a few of these beautiful vintage archival shots that I just wanted to throw in here because as designers, you're going to love these. So in the 60s and before that, we didn't photograph our shots for our color cards and our marketing pieces. They were hand painted. And I think that's so lovely. And what I find fascinating about this shot is that it's going to lead really nicely and segue into talking about the pinks. As sort of a key color story for 2014. But more so than that, the painted out paneling, which again, I know that's sort of something that we're seeing a lot in the paint world. And I was at the House and Home Trend Breakfast in December, and they were talking about that. They showed lots of examples of painting out the paneling, all one color, different sheens. There it is in the 60s, and the sheen on the wall to reflect, and you can actually see it just the way it's painted on there, how it's reflecting and shining and gives this real glam feel to this pink dining room. So it actually feels pretty current, except the chandelier might be a bit high. But, aside from that, it's very, very current. Mixing the gold with the chrome, like all of these things that we think we're coming up with now, it's just a matter of, what goes around comes around. So here's a shot from a current shot using this beautiful salmon-y pink. This is called Fruit Shake, and that sort of envelops this space. It has lots of beautiful windows, and again, don't worry, we didn't paint out the limestone fireplace. That's the natural color. It just happened to work so well because of its warmth with this color palette in the space. And one of the things that consumers have been asking a lot of is that a different color on either side of the fireplace? But again, we really wanted to focus on the reality of how that color looks. There's a large set of windows on the other side beaming light into the right side of the fireplace, and then on the other side you get that rich color. So even though it's the color in the middle, Fruit Shake, on one hand it almost looks like Coralescence, and on the other hand it almost looks like Peach Parfait. So different times, sorry, I'm Mediterranean, I always talk with my hands. So I think there's something really beautiful. There could also be something very scary about that. Wouldn't you agree? Like with some of your clients, I'm sure you run into that. Oops. I'll just put it here. I knew I couldn't use the handheld because then I have to use this and then I wouldn't be able to talk. If both of my hands have something in it, I can't speak. So here we go. So I just love this shot and how it kind of echoes that last shot from the dining room, which again, totally coincidental. Found this after just, a month ago, but there's something really familiar and nostalgic about this, but it feels more sophisticated. It's got the toile and the black and white, the beautiful sculptural black lamps. So again, there's something much more contemporary about pink. And pink isn't feeling, certainly it's feminine. It's kind of the only color, really, that hasn't become more gender neutral overall. I mean, we've seen purple. I bought my husband several purple shirts. He's totally fine with that. Now, it took a while. I just take him to Milan and show him all the Italian men and all their colors and all their beautiful beautiful shoes. Love the Italian shoes. So there's something about a lot of other colors that we're totally comfortable with in spaces. But I know when you're working with couples sometimes, no, I don't want to have pink. Like I just can't go there. But I think we're going to warm up to that a little bit more. This shot, again, very, very feminine and pretty, more of a salmon color. But again, it's really all about the sheen in the bathroom. And one of the things that that I've been so happy about for the past 6 or so years, that Benjamin Moore brought out the Aura Bath and Spa. So it's a matte paint that can be used in a high humidity environment, like a bathroom, kitchen. I actually used it in my hallway where the kids are like kicking their wet boots all the time, so you can get that matte finish and still wash it. But now that we're kind of used to that, I think as designers, we want to mix things up a little bit. So bringing back the sheen is an interesting way to do it. And again, painting over that paneling with a pearl finish as opposed to the matte. And just a really pretty vignette with the pink glass. I think sort of shows the inspiration for this sort of monochromatic room set out of just pinks. And one more shot, I put another one. This is sort of a little bit more contemporary feeling, a little bit more minimal, not as traditional. This has peach parfait on the back wall with flint. And I absolutely love flint. It's one of my favorite deep, dark colors right now. It's a deep, sort of like a charcoal gray, but it's blue infused. So it has a bit of blue. Depending on the light, you might catch the blue, and sometimes you won't. It'll just feel gray. But a really, really interesting color. You want to look at it in the light for sure. And I just love how it works with that sort of almost barn board feel of the door in this space. And actually, a lot of these shots, this one in particular, is from a collaboration that Benjamin Moore has done with Kohler. So as, again, we'll be seeing more and more of in Kohler showrooms and at Benjamin Moore retail stores, images from this collaboration where they've been utilizing their beautiful fixtures and pieces with our color. So this shot is actually from that project. And purples. Purples we love. We've been seeing them kind of come into light more and more over the past few years. And I think they're definitely still here to stay. They're definitely more gray. They're definitely more gray and livable, sort of toned down. Not the Barney purple, don't worry. Supernova, though, is that nice, rich, almost like a new gray in a sense. So as I mentioned earlier, I was kind of thinking of colors as being the new neutrals with that element of gray. Lavender mist, very pretty on the backdrop with more of the linen finishes. So you got this pastel feel, but it feels a little more graphic up against the white. And of course, I have to talk about neutrals. I think the main thing to say about neutrals from a trend perspective is that what we're seeing a lot of designers doing is mixing the warm undertones with the cool undertones. Are you finding that you're kind of drawn to that now more? You used to have this rule in your head, I have to work my warm whites or my cool whites. We're seeing people mix them up, and it adds another element of texture and dimension to the space, keeping it still really quiet. This one has, it's very neutral, but there's like little hits of pastel in the undertones with the fabrics. And again, it's all about texture. So when you're mixing your undertones and you've got those light neutral colors, bringing in a lot of texture like the painted brick, the hand knit, sort of cable knit throw, and again, just little bits of pottery that have almost a matte finish, so very handmade. Blue is sort of the biggest color that we've been seeing as a color story for 2014 and beyond. Again, an archival shot I just had to throw in there. When you see, if you haven't already seen Benjamin Moore's Color of the Year, Breath of Fresh Air, again, when I saw that previous shot, it was just perfect. I didn't call out greens because although greens are kind of a staple, we use them all the time, but I think what's the most interesting thing about green is how it's in combination with blue so much more often now. And it feels very fresh and light, and again, kind of very vintagey, 50s, 60s, very pretty. Like in this Van Allen green on the wall and then Breath of Fresh Air painted on the tub, which was one of the first projects I did for Benjamin Moore with Cityline, was actually painting a fridge. I was just reminded about it this morning at the show because they're doing a 30th anniversary. And I'm like, I painted a fridge? You let me paint a fridge? A tub would be much easier to paint. Again, beautiful blues into the deep sort of navy blues, into the light gray blues, and then that flint that I was talking about again, that's kind of that anchoring neutral, almost like charcoal. So another beautiful image with Breath of Fresh Air. And again, all these sculptural elements, very, very light and soft, where you're really looking at the form. So when we're working with the monochromatic palette of blues, let's say, bringing out the different forms and textures. And painted floors, that's actually something that we've been seeing a lot more of in magazines. I was looking up a Pinterest board once just to get some ideas for painted floors, and I just couldn't even look at them all. There were so many really great ways to treat your staircase as something special. I think now people are starting to kind of look at their staircase as a feature, as not just something that's utilitarian and has to be there. So again, showing an example of the porch and floor paint on the stairs and then painting the risers in a different color. And painted paneling, of course. Don't forget painting the paneling. And this is from a project that I worked on with my colleague in Montreal. And we did a lot of painted vintage pieces, as well as the homeowners had some real vintage pieces. And we painted out these old chairs. Well, they were very old. They were around $20 a piece at the flea market. Painted them out with Breath of Fresh Air to sort of utilize the color in different places, not just on the wall. And then I found this, again, vintage advertisement of Benjamin Morris. And there, you know, there is me in the 50s. Sitting down, painting the chair blue, and I just thought that was so cute. And again, with painted furniture, I think you're probably doing a lot, whether it's painting a mantelpiece, painting kitchen cabinets. I think there's a lot of painted finishes coming back in style right now. And it's just a change, you know. I think sometimes we just want to lighten things up. It's a really wonderful example there. And again, I know I'm probably talking too fast, but I know you all have, you know, you've got more important things to do, like get cocktails at some point soon. So I don't want to keep you from that, but I am going to be here for a bit. I'm definitely going to be at the party tonight, so if you have any particular paint questions, please feel free to ask me. And again, thank you so much for having me here.